how to make beach cabana fish-shaped towel racks. Now, this particular project started out with a PVC board. You could do it out of wood. I just thought the PVC would last and hold up to the elements a little bit longer. I just drew out some goofy-looking fish, and I cut them out just with a jigsaw. Nothing difficult here at all, just a little time-consuming. This PVC is actually softer than wood, so it cuts easier. I guess it took 5 or 10 minutes per fish to cut them out. And I did a variety of different designs. I made long fish and short fish and fish with teeth, etc. Just tried to make them look goofy. I then went to an angle grinder, and this has a flap sanding wheel. I'm using a 60 grit just because that was in there. But almost any grit would be fine. Like I said before, this stuff is pretty soft and it grinds very easily. And I'm just using this to grind away and make, all the highlights stand out. So the fins, the lips, I'm going to carve away the fish, leaving the fins, have a little depth to them. I'm also going to use this same tool to start rounding over all of the edges going around the whole outside perimeter of the fish. And for the dorsal fin, I'll do the same thing. I'll just grind down the dorsal fin so that it stands out a little bit. Anything to just add a little detail. I'm going to use the same tool to carve some grooves into the fins, and I'll do the same thing on the tail. After I was done with the angle grinder, I went to an orbital sander with an 80 grit, and then I actually went to 120 grit just to smooth out all of the rough grind lines. This is going back to the tail section, just adding some more grooves. And you can see the fish starting to take shape. I have a Dremel grinder with a little cutting wheel that I'm just going to add 2 or 3 lines for the gills. And then you can also use that same tool to go back over and add some lines into each of the fins. I just used a 1/2-inch speed bore to create the hole that I'm going to insert the peg that will hold the towels. And I'm just using half-inch dowels as the pegs. So I gave each fish a base coat of the lighter color. So for each fish, I'm using 2 different colors, or a light blue and a dark blue, etc. After the base coat, or actually before the base coat, I did put some self-adhesive vinyl stickers for the eyes. And then after the base coat, I added some additional details, whether they be lines or dots, also out of self-adhesive vinyl. This way, when you remove the vinyl, you're either exposing the white of the PVC board or the undercoating paint color. And I'm using the darker color paint towards the top of the fish. Most fish are darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. So now when I'm removing that vinyl, in this case, I'm going to expose the base coat color with the stripes. And with the eye, which I had put on first before the base coat, I'm exposing the color of the PVC board. Same thing with the teeth. On this fish, I used the self-adhesive vinyl to create the illusion of teeth. And these dots were put on after the base coat. So when I remove those, they'll expose the lighter blue underneath. Just added a black dot, also cut out of self-adhesive vinyl, as the eye or the pupil. And these are really starting to take shape. What's really going to make them stand out is a very thick, high gloss finish. I'm using a resin from TotalBoat.com called their Maker Epoxy. And it's 2-part epoxy. You mix slowly for 5 minutes. I poured it on. You want a pretty thick coat. And then I just brushed it out so that it covered every square inch of the fish. Then during the first, say, 20 or 30 minutes, you want to go over it a couple of times just with a butane torch, very lightly. You don't want to really heat up the resin too much or burn it, but you just want to thin it out a little bit so that any bubbles that are in the mix will be able to reach the surface and dissipate. So you end up with a much clearer finish product. So this is the finished piece. Very high gloss, durable epoxy resin finish. Should stand up to the elements of time and weather. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please check us out on the web, DIYeasycrafts.com. Thank you very much for watching.